everyone, welcome to Sock Season Week 20, March 10th through 16th, 2024. I'm Carol, host of A Stitch in Time, and I can be found on Ravelry as Knits and Pearls. As I mentioned last episode, I will be closing out this series by focusing on designs by Hunter Hammersen. And for the next 2 weeks, we are going to take a journey along the Silk Road by exploring the designs in this book, Silk Road Socks, 14 sock patterns based on Oriental rugs. This first edition was published in 2011 by Cooperative Press. And then in 2017, there was a second edition published by Pantsville Press, which is Hunter Hammersen's company. And the updated version contained 2 new sock patterns, new sock samples, and also a wider range of sizing. The socks in this first edition are only written for one size. Before I show you my socks, I thought I would just give you a quick overview of this book. Before I do that, just a reminder that both editions are out of print, but Hunter does make some of her retired patterns available a couple of times a year, and you can find out when by subscribing to her newsletter or following her on Instagram. The book opens with a brief introduction by Hunter Hammersen in which she describes her lifelong love of Oriental rugs, which inspired the designs in this book. Next is some information on the Silk Road, complete with a map. And then the next few pages are devoted to the background and history of Oriental rugs and contain several historic paintings. Then we come to the knitting part. So there are several pages of instructions. Hunter walks you through how to read her patterns, how to read the charts, how to find your gauge, and how to adjust for fit. The key to the charts takes up 2 full pages, but beside each symbol are instructions on how to work the stitches for that symbol. And then we get to the patterns themselves. So as I mentioned, there are 14 in all, and they're all laid out in a similar manner. You will see there is an excellent large photograph of each sock so that you can really get a good look at the design before you knit it. There is just some information about the type of rug that inspired the design, and then a colored illustration of that type of rug. Underneath there, right here in an easy to find place, is the cast on number for your sock, how many stitches are on the front, how many are on the back, and the gauge that you're trying to achieve. The charts are large and easy to read, and as I mentioned, there is an excellent key for all of the charts, all in one place. And then you'll see each pattern contains a couple more photographs of the design. So when I was looking through my socks from this book on Ravelry, it became apparent that when I participated in the knit-along for this book in 2011 and into 2012, we started with the second half of the book and knit those 7 socks first, and then we knit the first 7 socks in the second part of the make-along. But I think just to keep things simple, I am going to show you the socks as they appear in order in this book, rather than in the order that I actually knit them. I am going to do my best to pronounce the names of these designs correctly, but chances are I will be saying most of them wrong. With that in mind, the first pattern in this book is called Gordes, and Gordes is a town in western Turkey. As Hunter explains, most Gordes rugs feature an arch, which is often supported by decorated columns, and they are sometimes flanked by designs depicting hanging lanterns. And she has incorporated all of these elements in these socks. I knit my pair from Quince & Company Turn in the Driftwood colorway. And this is definitely one of the more intricate designs in this book. So let me bring one in closer so you can take a look at this hanging lantern motif. And then I'll turn the sock sideways in a moment and you will see the arches that appear on both the front and back of the socks. In the meantime, feast your eyes on this cable detail that runs down each side, and then you can see the cabling that occurs on both the front and back. So I will turn them around as promised. Easier said than done. So there is that arched detail here, this beautiful cable pattern that travels down into the heel flap. And then the cable pattern runs, down the length of the entire front of the sock. So I'll give you one more look at these on the sock blockers, and then I'll let you see what they look like when I'm wearing them. So there you are again. Good look up close. Next design is called Khazak, and as Hunter explains, the origin of this name is difficult to ascertain. Some people believe it is a corruption of the word Cossack, while other people think that it stems from the name of a town in Azerbaijan. In any case, Khazak rugs are usually bright primary colors, with red being the most common, and they feature large-scale geometric motifs with strong angular lines. And Hunter has definitely incorporated those angular lines in this design. You can see I knit mine in green. This is handmade in Kasbah in the cedar colorway. And these socks are mirror images of each other. You'll notice at the top there is a triangular section of stockinette stitch, and they face each other this way on this side and that way on this side. So let me bring them in a little bit closer, and you can see this textured angular pattern that zigzags all the way down the sock. A ribbed cuff and a ribbed heel flap. And again, just a last look at them here on the sock blockers. And then I'll give you a model shot. Next design is called Hariz. Hariz is a village in northwestern Iran, and rugs from here are often large and feature rectilinear medallions. Usually the backgrounds of these rugs is red, while the medallions are blue. I knit my socks from some yarn from Zen Yarn Garden. It is the Serenity 20 base, and this is the Tea Party colorway. I'm pretty sure I received this yarn as part of a yarn club. You will note that once again, one sock is more saturated than the other, and that has to do with how the skein was dyed. I'm going to bring in the lighter sock because the medallion design is easier to see on it. So you'll notice these twisted cable stitches that form the medallions run all the way down the front of the sock, and then the twisted stitches carry on into the heel flap. They're set against a background of reverse stockinette, and that's carried on into the top of the toe while the sole is knit in regular stockinette. And I don't know if you can tell, but there is a hole here. I discovered it when I put them on to do my model shots. And I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do about that. Normally, when I discover a hole in one of my socks, I dispose of them. Obviously, I have no shortage of socks, and usually by the time it gets to that point, I've gotten quite a bit of wear out of them. Unless it's on like the toe here where it's easy to rip back and reknit with new yarn. So what I will probably do is wear these one last time this week and then throw them out. But never fear, I have worn these socks quite a bit over the years, and it was probably when they were living in my sock drawer that a critter discovered them and took a nibble. So I don't feel too bad about that. So here again, you can see one last time how they look on the sock blockers, and then here is a model shot complete with hole. The next sock, called Sarb, is one of my favorites from this collection. Sarb is a town in northwestern Iran, and it's surrounded by over 20 villages for which it serves as a market for their rugs. Rugs from this region are also sometimes called serapis. Because of the type of looms that are used, Sarb rugs are usually long and narrow. They are often camel colored with red and blue accents, and they feature strong lines and diamond-shaped motifs. My socks are knit from the Woolen Rabbit Harmony sock in the Cherry Bomb colorway, and I think this is just a wonderful mix of yarn and pattern. Let me bring this in closer. You can see the ribbed cuff that flows into these diamond lace motifs, and then the columns of stitches run all the way down the sock into the heel flap once again, and then those diamond motifs are repeated here on the instep before flowing into a reverse stockinette toe on top again, and then the stockinette on the bottom sole. The yarn is really beautiful too, with a lot of depth. So once again, here they are on the sock blockers, and now you can see them while I'm wearing them. Design from the book is called Yomut. The Yomut are a Turkmen tribe who live along the eastern side of the Caspian Sea in Turkmenistan and Iran. There is some variation among the Turkmen rugs, but they are predominantly red and often feature gulls, which are diagonal stripes of large lozenge-shaped geometric forms. I knit my Yomut socks from a gradient set from the Unique Sheep. It is the Verve base and the Japonica colorway, and I absolutely love these socks. I think the bright colors are so beautiful, and the lace pattern that runs all the way down the sock is also very pretty. As you can see, the socks start with a little garter stitch cuff, but unusual for a Hunter Hammersen sock, they just have a plain traditional heel flap and stockinette toe. But I think with the overall lace pattern, that was the perfect choice, so as not to distract from all of this lace. So again, I'll just bring that in closer so you can get a good look. One last look on the sock blockers, and here's a model shot for you. Next up is Mashhad. Mashhad is the second largest city in Iran and is widely considered to be one of the most beautiful. It is located in one of the best wool-producing regions of the Middle East, and in the past, cochineal was used to dye much of the yarn for the rugs, which gave them a magenta or purplish cast. The rugs from this area also feature intensely decorated corner brackets, and you can see this reflected in the sock design. So here are my Mashhad socks, knit from Fleece Artist Trail Socks in the Tangerine colorway. And I think they are really striking. I like how the tonal yarn just sets off the simple yet effective sock design. So let me bring these in. You can see they begin with a ribbed cuff, lead into this corner bracket design with these columns of stitches that run all the way down the sock. There is, I think, an eye of partridge heel flap here, which is divided by a little bit of ribbing, and then they feature a twisted rib toe. Again, I'll just bring them in closer so you can see them really well. One more look here on the sock blockers, and now you get the model shot. Final design for this week is called Sailor. The Sailor are one of the oldest and most distinguished Turkmen tribes, dating back to the 11th century. There's still a group in Afghanistan who go by this name, but it is difficult to tell if everyone who called themselves Sailor over the centuries were related. It can also be difficult to attribute specific Turkmen rugs to specific people. But it can be said generally that Sailor rugs are bright red and often feature gulls or motifs that are octagonal in nature. I knit my sailor socks from some yarn from OK Knits. This is the Senna base and the crocodile colorway, which is this amazing green-brown tonal yarn. Because the yarn is so dark, I am going to bring these in right away so you can see the fabulous stitch patterns on here. So it begins with a cuff that has a slip stitch cable design nestled in between these bands of reverse stockinette, and then you can see these motifs that run all the way down the sock. The pattern from the cuff is repeated here on the heel, and then it has a plain stockinette toe. So once again, I'll give you a good look. For the last time, here is a look at the socks on the sock blocker, and now I will give you a model shot. That concludes week 20 of sock season. As always, I will provide links to my Ravelry project pages for all of the socks that I showed you here today. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And if you would like to see more knitting and crafting, be sure to check out regular episodes of A Stitch in Time. I'll be back next week with the final 7 pairs from Silk Road Socks, and I hope you'll join me then. Have a great week, and thanks so much for watching.